waiting in my studio for Monet to show up. She should be here any minute now. In fact, I should keep an eye on my phone to see if she's messaged. Anyway, I'm working in front of this cheesy backdrop, which is not that particularly cheesy, but it's just not associated with stuff like I do normally. It has been my spring break and it's been pretty busy. And speaking of the zine, it's almost finished. I have 52 orders currently, and the pre-sale ends on Saturday the 17th, which is my birthday, and I'm probably going to post this before then. What I've got going here is this backdrop that was given to me years ago, actually, by my friend Andrea Schuler, who's a photographer in Abilene, really great photographer. And got another white backdrop here. I'm not using it right now. And my little living room corner house set with my TVs, which you will see in the zine, and my hot light with a green gel on it currently. Just gonna check my phone again. I was gonna use the a solid color backdrop with a gel to do some lighting on this, but then I realized that there's a grungy side to a lot of these photos, so I thought I would give it a go with this textured thing because the color was actually about what I'm aiming for. You'll see lots of blues and purples and magentas and other types of things. I'm bad at color names. On top of everything else, the motherboard on my new computer went out and I just replaced it. I'll probably go over something about my PC Mac thing. If you've known me the last 20 years, I've been on a Mac. I've got an essay that's being written for my zine. I'm probably gonna hopefully see it tonight. It was born out of how I usually write the stuff or the statements for my art and everything. And this definitely is something I even did before grad school. And you see a lot of people write their own essays and everything, but I'm trying to think of something different. I had a friend who I was talking to and she was mentioning stuff about the photos. I was giving her a preview of some of them. And she said some things I thought it sounded good, and then she mentioned how she writes art criticism and stuff. So I asked her if she would like to write something for my zine and be the written piece, the essay for this zine. And Monet showed up right after that. But to elaborate on what I was saying, my friend Kate Guggens wrote an essay for my zine, and you can read it and see about 28 photographs in the full color letter size publication, which you can order on my website in a link below. The pre-order is over, so you missed your chance to get it for $12, but for my viewers and hopefully my subscribers, you can use the discount code INSECURA to get your own copy for $15. I pick up the printed copies of the zine from Espresso Print Cafe in Tyler, Texas. Should be today or tomorrow. I got hit with death of the author a lot in grad school, and there was a valid part to that, in that we have to view our work in a vacuum, which is hard to do as a creator, but a useful perspective to try to gain. Instead of suffocating in the academic morass of explaining this concept, watch the videos I've linked below or maybe on a card that will explain the concept of death of the author much more than I can in this. Basically though, the DOA, as I'll call it from now on, concept argues that authorial intent is completely irrelevant in understanding a work and in fact should not even be considered or entertained. I find this to be a needlessly absolute thing created by navel-gazing white guys in GWGs who enjoy provoking the then establishment. I'm speaking of mostly like the 60s and 70s, it seems like. The NGWGs were indeed brilliant and had many good points, but created a false vacuum in which their ideas could reign supreme. Art and created works did not stop evolving upon their creation, and they certainly did not stop evolving once the NGWGs came up with DOA. An example of this evolution and resistance to change can be seen in language. Just look at any reaction to slang, like LOL or whatever the heck kids are saying now. I'm old. Just as LOL is the latest passing float in a parade of linguistic evolution, paratextual elements that keep works alive beyond their snapshot existence are an evolution of storytelling. Of course, the establishment will have a problem with this. The establishment always wants things to remain static. Stasis is easy to control and easy to understand, and it's easy to maintain your place in the pecking order if you keep the pecking order the same and you don't have to work as much. So that's my view of death of the author in a very tiny nutshell, and this has to do with my zine essay because it's my attempt to subvert this tool that's been used against me quite a bit. By getting Kate to write this essay,
I washed my hands of almost any influence over it. She knew she was writing it for me, and she knew that she probably needed to make it a somewhat positive reflection. So yes, you could say that this is an invalid essay and that I've already defeated my purpose, but I didn't pay her, and I did not give her much feedback beyond very basic ideas, and she came up with a bunch of my intent just by looking at the photos without me feeding the concepts to her, which was one of the things that made me super excited to have her participate in this, because I was very curious about how she would see the photos and read them as a woman especially. I like how the essay came out, and it was very encouraging that I know she's not the only voice in all of art, but it was good to have a little confirmation that I might be going on the right track. It was also useful to get an outside voice, and you have to be open to criticism and to interpretations, and to not necessarily take everything personally when somebody reads something into your work. To quote Neil Gaiman, remember, when people tell you something's wrong or doesn't work for them, they're almost always right. When they tell you exactly what they think is wrong and how to fix it, they are almost always wrong. I found that to be pretty helpful in trying to figure out what I should listen to, and a lot of it does come down to instinct, and a lot of it does really bother you if you grapple with anxiety and self-doubt, as is the case for most artists, it seems, on some level at least. But as far as the photo shoot you're watching with Monet, I have another thing to bring up about public response and YouTube, which is that you're watching a whole photo shoot, and oddly enough, this happens with clients. You're watching me take dozens of photos, sometimes hundreds, and you don't see that many photos as a result. And that's a conscious thing. That's not just because I want to show you an hour of shooting photos to, you know, only scroll one picture past you because I'm lazy or don't have time to finish them. A lot of it is that I edit very tightly these days. The days are over when I would shoot for an hour and post 25 photos. That's something that's helpful when you're a beginner, when you're just learning how to cull and what to look for and just how to edit in general. You get to a point that you realize that you really only need like a few photos to turn out from any photo shoot, 1 to 5, and you just will shoot an hour and maybe shoot 1,000 photos just to get one you really think just nails it. So you might be watching 5 to 8 minutes of me taking photos with Monet, and you're only going to see 2 photos. So yeah, that's intentional. I do a lot of setups, I do a lot of different looks, and I don't wind up with that many photographs. To quote Ansel Adams, 12 significant photographs in any 1 year is a good crop. You will have people, you know, you'll want to make it worth your model's time if it's a trade shoot, so you do want to give them a few more than you might edit if you were just editing for yourself. But overall, you should only really concentrate on the best of the best, and that not only helps you tighten up your public output, but also helps you tighten your personal style and knowledge. And sure, when you're a beginner, you know, post 30 things that half look the same and spend a lot of time, but that's another thing. I got to where I only edit a few of the best, and that's what my time permit. And I scroll through my catalog and just pick out what really jumps out at me, and I give it some consideration. I do like to wait sometimes if I can wait till the next day or something. That can be nice to get that distance from the shoot. But overall, I still won't edit that many versus how many I take. And sometimes you get a shoot where everything looks good and you could just edit all day, and even then you could just post a couple and you'll have the best of the best. And another nice thing is that, let's say you don't get to shoot for a couple of weeks, well, you can go back and you can edit some of those and get things out there to keep your Instagram feed or whatever busy. So quick note, I am using LED lighting for this shoot. It's my Godox whatever 150 watt LED light, and I did use the modeling lamp from a studio strobe to do a little fill and background lighting, but I'm going to definitely get the 60 watt light to be my fill and background light, and I might even get a third eventually. I'm really digging these, and I had the Fresnel adapter on for every one of these shots, and I went for more of a tungsten, almost old Hollywood feel on these, as you can see, I think, in these. And on this shot, I put it on a tripod because I had to slow down the shutter speed to get some fill light and to let the TV especially not flicker too badly. If you're shooting TVs, especially CRTs, you need to go on the slower shutter speed in, like 1/60th of a second or about 1/30th of a second. And that's hard to handhold on just about any camera now, but especially a medium format camera. And so that's what I did. I put it on a tripod, and it was good because it helped me kind of lock down this composition. There wasn't a lot of shifting, and I shot with some diffusion on the lens, which created a fun diffusion effect on the antenna reflection here. And I also sprayed some canned atmosphere in the air for atmosphere. So haze. It's getting more and more, I guess, like cinematography and motion picture lighting. But it's fun because I like the immediacy of these continuous lights. So you can see your picture a lot more quickly than with a flash. And that's it for this week. Thanks again for watching. Don't forget to buy my zine and subscribe and like this video, turn on notifications, and I will see you next week. Thanks. Bye.